over my head. I hear music in the air over my head. I hear music in the air over my. It's a pleasure to be here. This is Indian Springs Farmers Association, which is a cooperative that was started in, well, it was actually, they tried to start in 1968 with a economic development grant from the Nixon administration. They got a $250 grant. They buy one piece of equipment, to spray pea for bugs, but it didn't work. So it was reorganized in 1976. And you had 8 farmers that started this cooperative. Indian Springs is actually a little community, one community over from here. So it's named after that community. And those 8 farmers started it because they were selling peas and watermelons and all this to brokers. Well, somehow or another they found out they were paying the black farmer one price and the white farmer one price. So they didn't want to put up with that. So they organized, they bought a 10-wheeler truck, a gas burner, started hauling their own produce to Chicago. So that's how it originally started. But believe it or not, out of the 8, 2 of them was white. So this cooperative, so in its inception, has always been white and black. At present time, we got 5 white members and 1 on the board. So it's always, you talk about race, but that was necessary because small farmers, they all were small farmers. And by all means, they didn't have no other choice but to work together where you white or black.
When you're small, being poor don't really make a difference.
Don't make no difference.
Whether you black or white.
So that's how it evolved, and it continued to grow. This is the 3rd facility this cooperative had.
The 3rd facility.
That had been built, right. So we moved in here in 1997. We got some grant money, and we put up some money, about close to $300,000 to build this facility. So in over 40 years now, well, the co-op went from 76 to 81 as an unincorporated, just working together. No legal structure, no bylaws and charter and all that stuff.
Who brought the legal structure to this equation?
We was at a meeting sometime. I must have been 21, 22 years old. I was more than that. I graduated from Alcorn State University. So we was at a meeting somewhere, and we told them we was a co-op, and they asked for all this charter and bylaw. We said, we don't have none of that. So the Federation of Southern Cooperatives signed Ms. Melba Smith to work with us to get our charter, our bylaws, set up our federal tax ID, state tax ID number, and all that legal stuff, bank accounts and all of that. He must have a banking account. The treasurer was keeping the money at the house.
There was no keeping no paperwork in the envelope. The money.
So we got all that straight, and now we made a couple of mistakes. This cooperative is on a charter for 7 counties in Mississippi. Should have been a statewide charter. So the only way you can be a member of this cooperative, you got to be farming in those 7 contiguous counties. So if now farmers getting so few and far between, we're gonna have to go back and amend that.
Okay.
And make it a statewide, and Louisiana and Alabama, anybody can be a member. But the current president now, we only had 3 presidents and 3 treasurers in 40 years. So the president now, with Byron that just left, he the son of the first president.
Okay. Were you the president at any time doing that?
I've never been the president. I've been manager and treasurer.
Okay.
But I've never been president. The president always been a Travis.
It's almost like a church. You got certain families in these communities that they're mainstays.
We had 3 presidents in 40 years, 3 Travis.
Hey, as long as they're good people, that's all that matters.
And our past president, like I said, the first one is deceased, the second one, he's 80 years old. He's still a member now. Joe gonna go pick up some stuff from him and his grandson later on today. He'll be in New Orleans tomorrow. So by having that good structure there and slow, not changing officers and all that all the time, it really paid off in the long run.
Some continuity, kind
Some
of.
continuity there, and it really paid off. Now, we were blessed to have land through here, too, as a community, you know. Thousands of acres that's black-owned land.
Let's talk about that, because right now, land is a very powerful thing. Land always been a powerful thing.
Most certainly have.
And sometimes we talk about people getting to 40 acres and a mule, and a lot of places, a lot of black people never got to 40 acres and a mule.
Right.
But in this community, I've heard y'all got something about a homestead act.
We got, under the Homestead Act, family received 164 acres, which is exactly 1 mile by a quarter of a mile. That make up 164 acres. And it was, to my knowledge, it was over 10 families.
Have you seen that in any other places?
I never have, but I know it's got to be other places. It couldn't have only been here.
So, I mean, around what time was that?
From 1879 to around 1898.
So right during the heart of Reconstruction.
Only 10 years after the Civil War. 15 years after the Civil War.
So
Somebody had to know what was going on. Now, we did a little research. This was Native American land. So when they treated a dancing rabbit, removed all the Native Americans from here to Oklahoma, they opened this up to settlement for white farmers, white people, but somehow or another these families was fortunate enough to get in and they was blessed.
yeah, that is definitely a blessing. You don't really see that a whole lot. I mean, to get that kind of land, I think today a lot of the families still have some of that land.
Still all of this through here. You can go from this facility for at least 2 miles, still be on black-owned land. Either direction you go.
Why is land powerful, though, in your opinion?
Yeah, land power because it's a source of income, the main thing. And then you can feed yourself, you can clothe yourself, and you can. I always said, if I didn't have anything, I could still live. You know, in these woods here, you got all type of berries you can gather. We got just about something every month. See, we got blackberries and wild blueberries in April and May. We got mayhaw berries in May. Now you're getting the wild mustard season. We got centrail mushrooms. It just go on and on.
So if you had the land, you could feed yourself.
You got all type of herbs. You got the
that's just
wild.
That's just wild.
That's
then
just
you got
wild.
some clear land. You could grow something.
You can grow something. As long as you got some seeds. And you know, the Virgin Island is one of the here that he believe in saving seeds. All the watermelons up there, he saved his seeds every year. His okra seeds. I usually buy mine, bro.
That's kind of a lost thing. A lot of people don't save seeds too much anymore.
I don't save seeds much. I know I don't at least. I just go buy some new ones. And I buy hybrids anyway that they ain't gonna produce in the next year no way. And then you know, if you notice through here, there's a lot of timber through here. Actually, almost all the small farms through here is a combination of livestock, timber, and crops. And see, I had livestock up into Katrina. And you see how my farm is all growed up. So I'm gonna need to get some goats, sheep, or cows or something. So if you got those three as a small farmer, you can always survive. Cause my mother and father, they didn't cut no timber unless they were hard time. That was their retirement.
Yeah, they were retired. Okay.
So I hadn't heard, but Katrina forced me to have to work a little longer. Cause it destroyed a lot of it. But Mother Nature, it doesn't come back. So they always use timber as a, well, farmers do it this way. Some farmers put their retirement in timber. Others put theirs in cows.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about that. I remember you telling me about some people put it in cattle.
They put it in cow. You know, what's that rate now? 1% at the bank, 1/4%. You can make way more than that by putting it in cow.
It's almost like Farmer Terry Price.
Yeah, I seen him this morning.
You seen him this morning? He had a lot of cows.
He still got a lot of cow. Now his grandfather, 400 acres up through there, but they had to buy it. They bought it when the timber company cut all the timber. If he was working for the timber company, he would sell it to you at a reduced price.
Really?
So he got 200 head of cattle. He got out of the chicken business, and he rented 6 acres to a watermelon farmer.
Yeah,
So he's loyal.
Yeah, Terry Price. I met him one time. He was probably one of the best chicken egg growers in the state. From what he told me, he was trying to be the #1 egg producer in the state of Louisiana. I mean, state of Mississippi. Also, when we did Gumbo Jubilee, Terry Price helped me get source the cow. And we went out and visited his.
But the land is the land is the key, land ownership. And if you notice in this community too, how you said that was the first see that generation, George Tisdale, that my great grandfather, he had land. Well, his children was some of the first ones to go to college, because they were able to send them to Tougaloo. Most everybody in this community went to Tougaloo or Alcorn.
HBCUs.
Then we ain't no Jackson States do him much. Most of them he went to Tougaloo or Alcorn, but they were able to start going to college. Some of them was in the 20s, so they could afford to send that second generation from slavery. And you don't find that too often either. And I did a little research on that. They had the wherewithal to get them to Jackson and to Alcorn, and that made a difference. You know, so like some
education.
like some said, they the first in their family they graduate from college in the 60s and 70s. When I know they were graduating from here in the 40s and 50s.
That's a long time ago. That's like
Right.
3 generations.
Right.
We reduced after that. Like 3 or 4 generations who had education.
You're right.
That changes. That level the playing field.
That made it a little better for the next generation, and and when I came along, that was a no-no. Wasn't no such thing not going to school. You were gonna go to Earl Division with what they built, one school for the black people in the whole county, back up in the '69, and so I was the last class to graduate from that school. Then they integrated, and then all I'm saying, you had a choice when you graduated from high school. You could either go to the Army, go to college, or get a job.
That sounds like my parents. That sounds like my parents. Sound like the same story played in soccer, right. Played in Mississippi.
You got to go 1 to 3.
So, 69, you're the last you're the last segregated class.
Segregated class.
A lot of people don't realize Brown versus Board education happened in '54, but it took another.
They really told us here to 72. They started piecemeal, voluntary. Then all of a sudden they just said, that's it.
Probably had a lot of private schools pop up around here.
They had 2, but they ain't school in this county because of a Catholic school, but they were there even before integration. So the 2 that was here, they couldn't make it. But this county too is 2/3 white. The public school is a private school.
That makes a difference too.
That make a big difference too. And they put the bird school on the property owners. So taxes went up considerable as a landowner. But you know, a lot of people think of it's not a given right, it's a privilege. And with the privilege comes the responsibility of paying for those that don't have. Okay, now most of them know that way. So you ought to be willing to pay to help the school, since the property taxes would pay the school. But most of, I know when they built the school here, all these big farmers and little farmers, they had a meeting and said they were gonna fight it.
They didn't want to pay the tax.
They didn't want to pay the tax. They raised about $100,000 at that one meeting. I didn't give them a dime, because I know they weren't gonna win in the first place, and I didn't believe in it. You know, but they didn't. you couldn't fight nothing like that.
So black farmers and black people have a long road in this.
Still got a long way to go, because we working on this American Rescue Plan now. To bail these 17,000 farmers of black.
So it's a long-standing history there, though. I mean, you had the Pickford decision, but well before the Pickford, black farmers wasn't getting the same type of loans.
Always been in the. I started borrowing money from FSA in 1977, my first loan. I bought a tractor, some land, combine, everything. I had a loan, but I didn't have. I couldn't. If I want to go buy a ton of fertilizer, I had to sign it. Then I had to go to the FHA office and let the FHA loan officer sign it. They didn't do nobody like that but black farm. What they call that? Supervisor farm loan. I couldn't go.
So white farmers, they had to get 2 signatures?
No, they didn't have to get no signatures. So 77, 78, 79 to 82.
That's your last loan?
My last loan was 85. But I had to, for 5 years, I couldn't buy nothing. Let's see if I remember on a good deal on seed fertilizer. I had to get the invoice, go back to the office. He signed, I signed, and take it back. By that time,
the whole purpose of credit is to help you create money, help you make money.
that's how we won Pickford, because we won Pickford on that. The only people who had supervised loan was African American black farmers. So that's the basis we based Pickford up on, and that's the only way it went. But and then it showed that our loan never was. You never got what you really needed. So if I needed $60,000 to put in my crop, I get $48.50. But my crop is based up on $60,000.
So you're in a losing battle before you get started.
Before you get started. Then I would get my last loans. I raised soybean and corn, so I planted soybean and corn in April and May, and I get my money in July.
So tell me this: did you have another job while you were a farmer during that time?
No, I didn't have another job. I basically never been nothing but a farmer. I worked for the Federation off and on call. But what
sustaining you?
What saved us through here? Well, we had early crop. So we had snap bean, pickled cucumber, long red cayenne for the hot sauce industry in Louisiana. We had contracts for that. So we would plant that in April and May and harvest in June. So that gave you some money
You had some cash
to plant your other crop.
Okay.
And then in the fall, you could get some of the same contracts. So we always had those kind of contracts through here up until they signed NAFTA. When they signed NAFTA, 92 and 94, all them contracts vanished.
So did y'all do any other things like sending watermelons and stuff to Chicago?
We started in 1978, and we still sending watermelons up there to today. Watermelon, peas, okra, sweet corn, everything. We got one load already on the books for Chicago.
You think it has something to do with the Great Migration, or a lot of people from down this way in Chicago, or just?
Absolutely right. So we got the hookup that on the west side in August. They always have a celebration. Everybody from Mississippi. We know they don't want a whole load of watermelon. Then on the south side, they have this thing. They got these clubs. Like you from Greenville, Mississippi, you got the Greenville Club. You from Greenwood, you got the Greenwood Club. You from Clarksville, you got the Clarksville Club. And Alcorn State University, largest alumni chapter in Chicago. So they got a B&B, and that's where we park our trucks at.
Really?
Yeah, they got a fenced-in place, so we park our trucks there at night and stay there. That's the largest chapter of Alcorn graduate.
So another thing, I mean, it's kind of like how we can help each other in the community.
Mm-hmm.
People started here in St. Mississippi. People migrated to Chicago, and y'all still working together.
Still working together. Still that pipeline. They going and coming every day. Most of the time when we go up there, I ain't been up there with a trucking on them. We always gonna bring something back. Somebody building a house down here, and they want you to bring all that lumber they done salvaged. And somebody moving back down here, they want you to bring all the furniture back. And then when these floods and hurricanes and all that, them churches take up clothes and canned goods and all that. We'll bring that back. We done brought that back over the year.
So there's no wasted trips.
No wasted trip. So I have a tag called for raw farm product. So me and I was driving in. We bought, the gentleman wanted to bring 2 Cadillac cars back. We almost got in trouble for that. So there's always something coming back, you know. And then them that went in this 56 and early 70, when they moved back, several of them I know, some of them that bought the farm they were sharecropping on, because one was a postmaster up there.
You might want to explain what sharecropping is in case somebody don't know what sharecropping is.
Sharecropping, when you working on a farm and said, I got 50 acres. Well, the farm owner put up the seed, the fertilizer, everything. And you stand on the place too in a shotgun house. So you work all the year and you break even at this thing.
You break even if you're lucky.
Yeah, you never get a
profit.
Now Virgil Daddy had sharecroppers on his farm that was white. I'm sitting up there. So
it's almost like sometimes black people own slaves too.
That's right. So it went both ways.
It went both ways, even.
But I never hear tell sharecropping through here. I never have. It had to be though, but I ain't never hear tell nobody right here sharecropping. I didn't know what the term was. I went to Alcorn University. I never heard sharecropping.
What was the crops here? I mean, you say y'all had woods. Anybody growing cotton around here?
Oh, that was a cash crop. I was a cotton farmer until the early 80s. That was the crop that made the cash. Yeah, that was the crop that made the cash. But that what I tell everybody, that what sent me and my nephews and my cousins, that what sent us to college. Cotton.
King Cotton.
King Cotton. Cause my freshman year and my sophomore year, I had a crop here. I never did get to the last day of registration.
Can I just ask a quick question, Howard? If
Go
that's
ahead.
Okay. What are some of the stories that you remember? I want you to tell us as well in the camera, the year you were born.
Okay.
And just what you remember of growing up. Because let me just, put this into perspective. This grant that we received was called the Legacies of American Slavery. Right? And so we are trying to have a thread that kind of shows how black farming, you read the 1619 Project, correct? So we're trying to show the thread of how slavery was the kind of the undertone of a lot of things that we might not have paid attention to.
Okay.
So this is also education for them as well. And this conversation is going to lead up to the regional conference next year. So if you could as many details as you can remember about growing up, maybe what the old folks used to tell you about farming. You know, did they talk about any, their grandfather who was enslaved? And even that Great Migration, you know, you talked about that, about Chicago. You know, what do you remember growing up about people leaving and going and leaving Mississippi and why they left? You know, that's what the core of this interview. So, okay.
See, I was born in 1951. I remember segregation very well. You know, you see on there white water fountain, colored water fountain, all that sitting in the back of the bus. My grandfather was born in 1880, and he died. When he died, I was 15. But I never did. They never did talk much about slavery. They would talk about, like my grandfather said, he remembered one but two stores in Hattiesburg, Polk Hardware and Citizen Bank. And they would have to go all the way to Mobile to get sugar and coffee and all of that. So, and I do remember a lady, she was a Travis. She was born in 1860. And she was a midwife. So she birthed everybody through him, white and black at home. And she lived from 1860 to 1960. So I actually met her. And several more through here was born in 1861 or 62. But I ain't never known them to say they were slaves or not. So it was only one or two, like what you would call a plantation here. Most everybody, black, white, and even some Native Americans, were just small subsistence farmers. Well, I can recollect. And I had a book written one time, it was showing about how it was more about food and how one influenced the other one, and to why we eat okra and why we eat cowpeas, all that comes from Africa. Since my many trips to Africa, I can see why we eat what we eat.
Can you talk about some of that too? About, you done took many trips. Not many people in this community, not many African Americans.
They don't want to go. I had the opportunity to take place of it. They don't even want to go to Jackson. So New York and Los Angeles, no. It's talking about going to Africa.
The connection to food from Africa, like why we eat certain things.
Why
What you
we
saw
eat
in Africa and what you saw see here in Mississippi and New Orleans,
It's the same thing. They just put a different twist on it. The eggplant, the okra, the cowpeas, we call it collard greens over it, but over there they got another name for it, but it's the same thing. So as I was growing up, you know, then again when I hadn't been nowhere till I went to college. I hadn't been there for the Lake Pontchartrain one time. It was segregated. We could only go on Thursdays.
Sound like we're talking about,
you know, the park out there, Lake Pontchartrain theme park. I hadn't been nowhere else. So when some of the students were talking about they was hungry. They'd been hungry. They had holes in their shoes. You know, some of them said they could lay in the bed at night and feed the chickens and then drop the corn and all that through the floor and then feed the puppies. I never lived like that. So I didn't know. I thought everybody was like people around here. I ain't never been hungry. I ain't never been shoeless. I ain't never had to wear white clothes. I didn't. I didn't know.
I think part of it, you coming from a landowner family, being a landowner versus being a sharecropper or a tenant farmer.
Yeah, me and my nephew, he older than I, we talk about that all the time. He went to Alcorn. 6 years wasn't nothing but a sophomore. Then my mom and dad cut the money off. He joined the Navy. We talk about that all the time. All of them through here, you know. But
I mean, it's kind
I
of.
thought everybody was living as black like I was, but it wasn't true. Cause most of them students from the Delta, they was sharecroppers. They was staying on the plantation.
That's a different mentality.
I told them, and it took me 30 years to. I didn't want to own up to it. Those of African Americans here, we are hill farmers, and the one in the Delta, they much bigger farming now, because some of them got 5,000, 6,000, 4,000 acres. We totally think different when it comes to working together. I didn't want to believe it. I still don't want to believe it, but it's true. We get together down here and do things. We try to start co-ops in the Delta. They go a year or two, it dissolves.
And you're saying that they dissolve because now, like in the Delta, you only have like 1 or 2 families.
You got some 1 or 2 families up there doing real good, but they don't tend to work together. So
They so big that they just.
So I just was totally different. So now you come to civil rights and all of that, marching and singing. I mean, I was 14, 15 years old. I went to Hattiesburg. I'm marching and singing. I slipped off from school to go listen to my best friend. Let's go up here in 65 and protest. One telephone in this community. But when I got off that bus, my mama knew I had been up there. Standing there with a switch. So that was, I went up one other time and never did go no. But now we know for a fact that black farmers had land. So when they went to, they got put in jail, the protesters, they wouldn't take a cash bond. They want a property bond. So many black farmers put their land up. The bail, hundreds of protesters out.
So that's a good lesson there.
They said you could have the money in your pocket, but you couldn't bond out.
They tell you how much powerful the land is. We could have, people talk about all these different currencies, crypto, Bitcoin, or whatever, cash or whatever, but the power is in land.
And there's a documentary out there called Good Deeds, like Land Deeds, DEE, Land Deeds. It's a 65-minute documentary, and I helped work on it. It just chronicles the farmers in Holmes County, how they put their land up. They get the Freedom Riders and all of them out of jail. And that went on all over the state of Mississippi. And not a one lost their land. All of them showed up at court.
To get their land back.
Right. Not a one so far been documented where they lost their land.
That was my next question. I wondered, they lose any of their land in the process. Mm-hmm. But when you own something, you have a different respect for it. It means everything to you. Versus you renting something, even if you're renting an apartment or you're renting a house, it don't mean as much to you unless you own that house. It might mean something, but it's not the same level of care.
And in this county, you have cross burners, and they burn down some churches. But I never seen a cross burn, and that church up there never burned through the 60s. I never seen them. They didn't come through here burning no crosses. Not a cross never been burned out here.
But would you think because y'all had about 60% white and about 40% black, why they didn't burn?
But I'm just saying this right here is solid black.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what they were afraid they're gonna shoot back, or they just didn't get around to it. But that whole through the 60s and so you had the Black 4-H Club. The future farmer of America was white. We was NF farmers of America. Negro, new farmers of America.
And then
so in 1968, me and 3 others from the black, we were chose to integrate that. Well, they weren't integrating, they just dropped the new farmers and made us all
FFA.
FFA. So the same thing with the 4-H Club. Well, they said we got to bring all y'all together, so this 4-H club out here was one of the chosen to start meeting with the white 4-H club, and they had some kind of council, and eventually this merged us all into one. So in 1968, we went to Mississippi State for crop judging. You know, you win in the local, then you win on the county, in the district. And if you win the district, you get a chance to go to Mississippi State. So we was in the first crew to go to Mississippi State. So we on the bus. Bus load, ain't but 4 blacks on there, stop in Meridian at a truck stop, but they told us we couldn't go in.
I knew that was coming.
They gonna bring us a plate. I wouldn't eat it.
But
I wouldn't eat it. I said,
it's the
nah.
role of black people.
I started there. So when then we get to Mississippi State, well, my team, we should have won, but they just couldn't give it to us. So when it comes to showing livestock, the next year, 3 of us chosen to be the first black to show in the livestock show. They just couldn't give us a blue ribbon. And we had the best looking animals there, but they wasn't gonna do that, not that quick.
They just couldn't.
They couldn't. So you know.
How did that affect you though, knowing you couldn't? You had the best. You had the best product out there. Probably maybe 2 or 3 times better.
I am said it didn't disturb me because all of them, some of them, especially after the show, come up and and we know you had the best animal, but but I never been one that really dwell on that race thing. It's there, you got to deal with it. So go on. The only best way to deal with it is like Oklahoma City. Create your own base, your own way. Because if you look at, if black farmers could only capture 10% of the black consumer, that would keep us in business with a high profit. Just 10%.
Can't get the 10%. No.
We can't get 10% because we're going to Walmart and the Costco's and Kroger's and Whole Foods and what's that in New Orleans? Rouse's. Yeah, I had a meeting with the Rouse man. He said he wanted a bathroom. They had put on this big thing in Jay. Me and him talking a long time and everything. But when it come that time to buy, I got plenty of it. There's always plenty of it. We all come in at the same time. And he gonna want us to grow pole bean, which is a very good crop. But you got to have a whole lot of labor for an acre of pole bean. So my point is, yes, everything is here, but the field still ain't level. It ain't level till we can go in the marketplace year after year after year. They gonna buy one year and don't buy the next.
That's not doing any good.
That ain't doing no good.
Because you got the land out here. You got bills.
You got bills, and you're gonna tell I can't plant a crop. You might buy it and you might not. You might buy it and you might not. You can't hardly plant a crop now. It was sometimes you could do that when a lot of brokers was coming to him that would buy it no matter what, but they don't do that no more. So if you're gonna plant a crop now, you really, really need to know what's going. Last year they told me to plant all that sweet corn. Donald Link, Cochin, the Butcher's Block, Herb Sang, Jennings, all them restaurants.
Don't tell me you had to eat all that corn.
I had 100,000 years ready at one time. But what bailed us out again, go back to what you say all the time, we had all our paperwork in order. So we were able to get one of those food box contracts. But see, as a group, as a farmer, you had to be ready before it came out. See, everything had to be, you couldn't been getting ready, because they only give you 6 weeks to be here. And then you got to have all these certificates, and then some of them used to be in that window, but in the office, there all these, one from USDA, one from the state of Mississippi, one from the health department, one from Forest County. You got to have all of that before you can even bid.
Exactly. So you got to be, when things happen, you got to be ready to turn the switch the next day. You can't say I'm gonna build this processing facility to get the money that came up in the middle of COVID, for example, with those boxes.
The Federation bid, and we got a $1.9 million contract for 12 weeks.
Yeah, y'all the only one in the Federation who got a food processing facility like this one?
I don't know one in Georgia. I don't know the one in Georgia went bankrupt. They had one in the Sea Island. It went under too, a long time ago. It's two in the state of Mississippi like this.
Okay.
You got this one, you got one in North Delta. The one in North Delta took our blueprints. We saved them a lot of money, and it had made it almost twice as big. So they sell it to Kroger. But my whole point, as farmers and as cooperators, you got to be ready. So by us having that contract, if y'all have been here this time last year, you wouldn't have been meeting in here because about 50 people in here. When we bring it in this way, 218-wheeler boxes, and these boxes here, and then we put them on the trucks, and we did 800 to 1,000 to Biloxi and Gulfport, and then again, I guess it go back to the community too. See, my nephews and them over there in the trucking business. So they got 18-wheeler refrigerated units, and we didn't have to go outside. We didn't have to worry about no trucking. The only thing I was worried about was the labor. But everybody in the community, and Joe can testify to this helped. We told them when we get the money, we'll pay you. And we had like I said, we had out of 1.9 million, we probably did 1.1 here. So we paid all these young people good money.
The faith y'all had years ago to put this together and go through the paperwork paid off. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't pay off initially, but they kept paying once they started.
So I was telling them brothers, I said, look, I've been around enough to know. When the next bid come around, we're not going to get one. But Joe didn't believe me. So in one but 3 minorities got to be the first go-round.
I remember that.
Not a one got the second go-round.
I think that you was in an article for Civil Eats with that.
Right. Civil Eats trying to figure out why we didn't get another go-round.
It seemed like y'all should have been a shoe-in for the second one.
We
if y'all delivered the first one.
They changed the whole structure of it. You had to be like Cisco's or U.S. Food Service or some of them big outfits. They got all and been getting it ever since. We bid it this last go round, and we didn't get it. But we're gonna bid another time. But they changed the whole structure where small community-based organization couldn't get it.
I got this is a question I want to kind of follow. I mean, I'm seeing you, Mr. Burkett. I'm looking at your age. Where's the next generation?
And that's our biggest problem in this cooperative. Our youngest member is 49. But them that really doing with the bulk of the production is in their 70s and 80s. There's no future there. So, as I told you, I said, unless it's something change, by 2030, it's gone. This co-op won't be here no more. So some of us, I first thought that was wrong. I want to see it go on for another 60 years. But then on the other hand, it had a good run. 60 years, hey, it's about to.
Do you think it's because people done left the rural areas and don't come back, or what?
Like my 3 great nephews over there, all of them in Texas. They graduated from Mississippi State, and them engineering degrees. Now I'm saying one of them gonna come back, but all of them know how to farm now, and all of them know how to do everything. They learned that from me and my brother. Them cats can fix anything. They can carpet. They can weld. They can trim. You name it, they can do it. I'm hoping and I'm praying they'll do that great migration that went to Chicago.
Can we go back? I'm glad you
They'll
said
come
that.
back with money and buy more land. But I don't know.
Can we
I don't
go
know.
back to the great
And them coming up right there.
Can we go back to the Great Migration and just what you saw happening in the community and a lot of people leaving from this? Why were they leaving? And what are some of the things that you saw in Chicago? And then, because you've seen each generation, each decade in Chicago, so you've seen also an interest, a huge interest, or a loss of culture. I want you to talk about that.
I can talk very good about it. 'Cause my generation, we were going to Chicago up into the 70, mid 70. From 70 up into early 2000, they were going to Atlanta. Now they go to Houston or Dallas or Austin. So everybody now is going to Texas. Two reasons why. Mississippi, the poorest state in the union. We number 50, I don't care what you come up in, we number 50 in it. Childbirth rate, diabetes, heart trouble, whatever it is, we number 50. And that's contributed to race. I've been on 2 race commissions as to why the race can't get together. And we produce this fine document every time. We present it to the governor of Arkansas, and the governor of Mississippi, and the governor of Louisiana. I was on 3 states one time. And we had all these governors. I ain't seen that document since. So we only produce so many good jobs. So 9 out of 10 gonna go to white. But you got all these young people got their good education. Then they got a good work ethic. So these other states,
They pick 'em up.
one of my nephews, when he graduated, they offered him a job for $50,000 as an electrical engineer with Mississippi Power. He went straight on out there to Texas somewhere and got a job working for a Saudi Arabia company for $85,000.
He went over to Saudi Arabia.
And I tried my best to get him to stay here because he good on common sense and
And books.
books. And I'm at there now. He went 2 years at Gulf Coast Junior College, and then he can't make up his mind to finish out. But that kid is a number one fix anything. He was in the Air Force. He still stayed in the Air Force because he was a jet engine technician.
It says to me, I always think about this a lot when I talk to my own father. We had the ability.
He had the ability,
We
but we
didn't
didn't
have
have
the
they didn't have the opportunity. So they leave. And that's the biggest reason why we number 50. The brain drain but the power to be, most towns in Mississippi, it run like Belzona, Mississippi. You got 3 or 4 white farmers on the banks, they own the gin, they own the car dealership, they own the catfish processing plant. So now we got 2, 3, 4 families owning everything. They want the status quo to stay. They don't want it. They don't want no place to come in there. And every time they're gonna build a Nissan plant or something, they ain't gonna build it in the Delta. They're gonna put it in Tupelo or somewhere. But they will not go where it's needed. Why they say, well, they don't have the education there. I don't see why not.
They don't want to change those jobs.
They don't want to change no job. They want to say, you get ready to build a new school in those counties. Those counties ain't built a new school since the 60s. Well, them counties 70 and 80% black. All the government officials, this mayor and everything is black. They ain't controlling nothing because they don't control the land.
And they don't control, that means they don't control the money either.
They don't control no money. But down here, it's a little bit different.
We keep going back to this whole thing with land, and now you see, like if you try to put another thoroughfare, why a lot of people maybe didn't get the 40 acres in the mule.
Right.
A lot of black people didn't get it because they knew the land was valuable. The people know how to work it.
And then they do their best to get it out. And some of the people now, this one, what my mom and daddy would say, like you got I know it was 8 acres about a mile, and they just this up and left overnight. Cause they had borrowed some money to farm, they couldn't pay it back. And the white folk gonna run them off if they didn't leave. So they just walked off and left it.
And when they went to Chicago, what were some of the things that you remember were the first trips that you would go? What would you see as far as how people lived?
I don't see why they went up there. Some of them, they could did better down here than they was up there. But there was a little more opportunity up there because had not my father hadn't got sick, I probably would have been up there myself. But see, my father got sick in '73, and my mother wanted me to just come back and help get that crop out. I said, if you help get this cotton crop out, you can go on where you want to go. But my father passed. I got the crop out. And once I paid production credit back, which is a thing that lend farmers to lend money to farmers, but they don't lend even today to select black farmers. You can go out there now to production credit, and I'm going on my name. I can go out there and get anything I want.
Yeah, you must have been.
Cause I'm the third being. But they don't do so. After I took that and paid them back, I had enough money to buy me a brand new truck. My first time having 10 $100 bills in my own hand. So I like this farm program. I believe I stay.
How much money would you all make in Chicago when you all would take
Oh
your
yeah,
crop?
yeah. See, we would go up there with a 10-wheel. You put 900 watermelons on the truck, and we were getting $2 and $3 a piece. This is in the '70s. So as the time went on, you go with 18-wheeler load of watermelon now, but you don't make as much clear money as you did when we were going with 900 watermelon. So you don't go with 10-wheeler no more. You go with a whole 18-wheeler load, which is 2,100 watermelon. So if you get $5 watermelon, that's about $11,000. Well, my big head nephew over yonder, he gonna want $4,000 just to go up there. And then now they don't want you to. You got to have many bins. That's $14. You got 44 bins on there.
Y'all turn your phones off, please.
You got 44 bins on there. That's $14 a piece. So by the time you the labor to load 18-wheeler now is $900. So by the time you pay everybody, you're making less money now selling more watermelon than you would when you're taking fewer watermelon. So it's
the game changes.
The game done changed. So that's the way it is now.
What do you remember just as far as going up to Chicago during that time period compared to now?
The biggest thing is the cost now, but back then, they would always say if you go up there, you're going to get robbed by the gang and you're going to get knocked in the head and all of that. Well, there was a family from Greenville when we first started going. Second generation, he was on the Chicago council. And he gave us a piece of paper. Any vacant lot in Chicago, we could pull our truck up on. So we never had no problem with nobody.
Was that John Stroger? I'm just curious.
Ma'am?
John Stroger, was that his name?
Man, so long ago I can't remember. Then we got in with the United Methodist Ministers Society, all the United Methodists on the South Side, they sponsors. We got in with the, like I said, the All Constate Union Alumni Chapter, and then we got that old big mega church, the lady pastor. We can park our truck there. There were so many people from Mississippi that had a connection. Well, I don't know how they know. They know that we in town, our truck gonna be parked on Stone Island and 79th. The whole city know we coming.
No Facebook, no Instagram.
No, there wasn't none of that kind of stuff like that. So one time the gang had a truce, all the gang. They ordered 2 18-wheel load. Now they didn't send us. Most time we go now if we go to Chicago, they got to send us at least half or we pull out. But we went on faith up there. So we got up there on Friday. No. I said, this ain't working. We didn't have no customers. I don't know what they did overnight. Them gang must have went back and told them something. The next day we had thousands of customers.
So just like that.
Just like that.
Once
But
the word passed.
it was a truce. All the gang that they set them on, they had a press conference. There wasn't gonna be no more. So we still in contact with them, but our best customer up there even to the day is the Islam Nation or Farrakhan. They got that Islam University on the south side. If they tell you they're gonna pay you $10,000, you ain't got to worry about it. When you get there, your money waiting on you, and ain't gonna be a lot of them that say, when you get there, I ain't got much money. I had that and this, that, and this, and that, and that, and this. So the load going up there now is going to something like grow that
Okay.
on the south side. They want 1,200 watermelon middle of next month. So it's been a good relationship. When we had did something in Detroit. Now South Carolina, the little bit I worked over there with them, they went to Philadelphia, New York.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect people from South Carolina to be dealing with people in Chicago and Mississippi like that. Most of that stuff went up 95.
And they go to Philadelphia, Boston, and New York.
And so like Mississippi, we're here in Mississippi.
We go to Chicago.
We go to Chicago.
Alabama, Detroit. So we have did all of them over the years. And it's been a good relationship. We lost some money. We lost just about every year until here lately. We would always 18, 19, 20,000 on the books. So we catch the train up there. You can get on the train at 8 o'clock in here and get off 8 o'clock the next day. Go around, collect all you can, get back on the same day. But some of it, we hadn't lost too much. But over the year, we had a few loads that we didn't get paid for.
We didn't really talk much about this earlier, but like HBCUs, there's a couple of things in our community. The roles of HBCUs and the importance of those. The church.
That's right.
I don't know the juke joints in these areas, but they had a role.
They had a role.
And the reason I want to bring them together because the church and the juke joint all have food being served at some point. And you may have some experiences being in Mississippi with those 3 institutions.
Absolutely.
And the music. You had the music in the church and you had the music in the juke joints.
Yeah, that Hawkins State University and this cooperative have had a cooperative agreement since 1990. And we renew it every 3 or 4 years. They have sent students here that work on their master's studying thing. And we usually keep some, in the summer they used to send us interns. And we do research with them off and on. But when we built this facility, they wouldn't send the money straight to Indian Springs. We had to find a third party. So we tried to count it. They didn't want to touch it. The little town of Petal wasn't incorporated then. So Dr. Jesse Harness and Dr. Tillman were the dean at Alcorn State, and Dr. Harness was the extension director. So we pitched the idea to them being the third party. But them eight, I don't know about private school, but them 1890, they move slow. Everybody from the president on down to the lowest man got to sign off on it. That must have took another 8 or 9 months. when I seen it, found what they had in there, they had stuck in there. They needed enough money for 2 people to get their masters.
Everybody gotta get something out of this. Everybody gotta get something out of this, man.
I didn't have a problem with it. No, the big wheels didn't have no problem with it. So we always had that agreement with the university. But here lately, it hasn't been much here lately in the last 5 or 6 years. But we have always had that type of agreement, and we always had a good relationship with Tuskegee. They always come if we need them for something. They just been there for us, them two. But we've been there for them too, Cole. When they go to the state house area trying for their budget, they want us to come sit there. So we go.
You gotta put a dog and pony show up.
We show up for them and stand up and tell them how good they done helped us in there. So it go both ways. Every year when they go to the state house for their budget, we go with Alcorn University. But I still said the 1890 by being state supported, most of them is kind of afraid to do things. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to.
They don't want
to mess up.
the pipeline.
They're right with the white school, Mississippi State, and they don't want to rock the boat too much. They don't want to take like right now I'm pushing them to do something with medical marijuana. They're afraid. The bill been passed. Everything, well, get out here and do some research on it.
Are you thinking about doing something with?
I'm not planning to do it. At my age, I ain't looking for nothing much to do. But I'm gonna make sure. And if these young people want a license, or want to be in it. I just come from California. I spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in California looking at growing, processing, packaging, transporting, all of it. 3 farmers and 3 government officials. We went out there last week. So I'm gonna make sure that, and they need to get in from the first go round. Now, if I have to, I'll get the license and try, my nephews or some of them, but I'm looking to go into Africa. And get up in the morning. What must have been at?
Yeah,
he in the car.
I know that I missed you that time. When you called me, you I was like, you supposed to be back in Mississippi.
Yeah, I was in West Africa. You was in West Africa.
Yeah, I was in West Africa. I ain't pick up the phone because I knew good and well you was in Mississippi.
And that name. So we have to them 19 land grants. College, we have to keep pushing them. Don't be so. If you make them now, we the only one I think now.
I don't think I'm gonna say like that. I'm gonna take up for Alcorn. Not the only one like that. I went to 1890 with A&T, and they don't focus really on the agricultural part.
They sure don't.
They focus on the engineering part, mechanical, but they don't focus on the agricultural part. And we're doing a disservice.
So we've 20-25 years we pushed the state legislature. They had all this money, so they put $1 million in a revolving loan fund that's managed by Alcorn State, Small Farm Development Center. A farmer can borrow up to $50,000 with no interest. To start, they done lent that money. My irrigation system sitting out here, I financed it with that money, and then you can borrow you can't get it for traditional cotton, corn, soybean, but if you want to do vegetables or mushrooms so I'm telling right now, lend some of this money to help these folks start growing medical marijuana. Well, it's illegal on the federal level. That's what the dean telling me now. See, I'm trying to get them ready now because the thing gonna be ready in January.
And by the time it's too late.
Yeah, you need to be letting some of these on, but they don't wanna touch it because of the federal. It's not federal. It's still illegal on the federal level.
Right now.
Right now.
It's coming though.
It's coming. So that's our relationship with this. And like I said, through here, I don't know how many people went to Alcorn State University. And but that done changed now though. They go to Mississippi State, University of Southern Mississippi. Somehow or another, this generation, like my nephew, they seem to think them schools is not as good as Ole Miss, Jackson State, Alcorn Valley, all of it traditional, historical black university. I have some knockdown, drag out arguments with my great nephews. But then I said, now, they mom and daddy went to Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Got them crossed.
They done. So now I recruit for Alcorn and Tougaloo. And I get very few here lately. Because the one young lady helped us here last summer. She graduated this year. And the co-op gave us some gifts and everything. And I tried to get her to go to Tougaloo. She going to University of Mississippi. Or William Carey or something. So maybe I think that bothers me now, but I can understand my generation why it bothers me.
I think it may turn around. It's turned around a little bit here recently in the past. It may turn around a little bit, but it's still, I can see why you hurt. I mean, being a HBCU grad myself, and think about the people who came before me, they ain't had no other choice but to go to HBCU.
On the right.
And if we send our best and brightest to other schools, then what happened to our schools?
That's my whole point.
I mean, it's no different on the football fields. If we send our best players to a Ole Miss or USM, what happened to our Jackson States or Tougaloo? I mean, so it's those kind of things. So I know the question. We have to kind of support our own in different ways. Then we got to also mix with other people because we're not going to make no progress if we just stay all segregated to ourselves.
Absolutely right. But see, when they signed the Ayers bill here in Mississippi, well, they're going to fund the historical black school up to the white school. Any white person in Mississippi could all call Jackson State the Valley free. That's the best we could do. I'm a plaintiff on that lawsuit. If you ever find it, you see where I'm one of the plaintiffs. But when we were going back and forth with the state, they always gonna get the upper hand on you. So now Jackson State probably, I imagine it's 50-50, race-wise. Because all them white people say, well, I'm going way up here on Ole Miss and then I can go
free education.
I can go right and get me a free education. At a good school, too. Because Jackson State is, it's claimed the only urban university in the state of Mississippi.
It might be.
That's what they build themselves as.
Okay.
But I'm saying, I just got to live with it, I guess. But
I
ain't going to give up. I'm still recruiting.
Can we make sure we talk about the food in the church?
We got 8 minutes on this camera before we go out.
Yeah,
let's
like I said,
make the last question for 8 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, the food. That's some of our best sponsors in Chicago. This is a big old. I can't think of it. There's a huge Catholic church on the south side. They got we parked our truck there 'cause they got it. Can't nobody get to it. And then over the year we tried our best to work with the National Baptist Association, but they can never get it together. As placing an order. Now we go and meet with the president and all that, trying to get funding to support the Federation of the Black Organization. You do all them meetings, they give you $10,000. You don't spend that much trying to
get started.
They get started. But see, they wanted to go in with us on delivering the boxes. But what were they going in on? They didn't have no trucks. They didn't have no produce. So we worked out a deal. They would find churches for us to deliver the produce, but they had to have a non-profit entity within that church, so they worked with them on that. United Methodist been very supportive. But most of the white denominations been like the Quakers and the Amish, and there's another one. They've been supported with us over the. But since this George Floyd deal, you see these boxes here, these other big cooperatives gave us them boxes, and they sent us all these safety uniforms, and I said their heart was soft. But as I tell all these young people, they ain't gonna be like that for long now. A year or two from now, they gonna say, George, who was George Floyd?
They probably say that now.
So they really supported us. They know we had the contract, so they really, I mean, them huge cooperatives. You know, we are part of that U.S. Cooperative Association. So you got Sunkiss and Blue Diamond and Landowner Lakes and who else? Just about everything you see in the store is a cooperative. That Minute Maid, the ocean, the cranberries, and they just flooded us with support.
So it's good to be involved with some of those groups.
Right.
'Cause otherwise, you don't know what's going on if you're not involved with
You
some.
ain't involved with them. But the Federation, we hope. Our executive director, Mr. Bland, he sits on the board with all these things. But we always had a relationship with the church. Actually, Indian Springs started off in Indian Springs Baptist Church. So when we met, the church allowed us to have office there for the longest. We ain't have to pay anything.
That sounds like this organization in Detroit called Food Lab Detroit. They started out using the commercial kitchens in the churches here recently.
We had an office there. They paired up with a desk, telephone, everything. We for 10 or 12 years, that was the office was, and little package here was somewhere else with the church, and then when these churches put on there, and we mostly give them peas and Oakland. When they come in all the time, they get eyes.
I want you to ask a question because we had something.
And we can continue over lunch. But what is the legacy for this next generation from slavery, from the Great Migration, from Jim Crow South, from Civil Rights Movement, that they need to be thinking about? I mean, I know you talked a little bit about that over the course of your interview, but what is the legacy that needs to be passed down, or what are we missing that we need to think about as far as those institutions that were put up against us?
Well, you know, the thing, it just go around in a circle, you know. Just look at this whole Black Lives Matter, this social justice, racial justice, gender justice. I look at that, see, in the 60s, and said the civil rights movement was fairly well 100% united, the struggle was. But what I just named now, that's 3 or 4 different entities. Now, that ain't gonna work. You know, you got some out here, Black Lives Matter, protesting. You got some out here want to reform the police department. I don't know what you call that, justice something. I don't know what the word is. And you got this whole gender thing about gay versus straight and all of that, and you got all that. So you got it all this on the table. Now, how do you put that together to one movement? That's the problem I see. You know, because even I went to that march over there in Selma for the 50th year over that bridge. Now,
Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Now I went there thinking that everybody was there with this marching on civil rights. They had all kind of banners there. You know, everything from the gay to the Native Americans, you name it, had it. That kind of messed me up. I thought we all would come here to celebrate the 50th year crossing of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Then it dawned on me, this ain't the 60s no more. And this thing, see, we in the 60s, and we didn't have a one movement. That's all. And then there were so many people there selling and
It's almost
so
like
I hadn't been in a long time. I'm not going. I'm bad no way because we always be last. Us Freemason. It took us 3 hours to get to the bridge.
it just
I
seemed
said
like,
this the last time for being. You know, but I was sitting there because we the last one to march. So I just see how they lined it up, and different banners, different that. I don't think if you wasn't coming there to celebrate the civil rights, I don't think you should have been there. That's me now. But that just show you now it's all what is it? Everybody got a movement about something.
I mean, it's almost like divided we're weak.
Right.
And it's almost like if you think about like even with dividing up land, for example, in a bunch of heirs property.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start dividing those large tracts up among a lot of siblings,
It
gets very hard to do anything with
You
because you
can't
got
do
a
that.
whole bunch of issues on the table that you got personalities. Same thing with all these different social justice issues.
Mm-hmm.
You divided, we're weak. We don't have one common cause to rally behind. So we go for all the progress we may be made. It's hard to get us all together and move forward. And the overarching thing with white supremacy and stuff like that is continue to be the dominant force because they got one dominant thing to go behind.
Like the man from Rouse, he was up there with Trump folk. So he come back. So now when I seen the lady point out to me them bags he got, they shop with him at the farmer market the other two that we support culture or something or the Rouse's bag. He trying to smooth
He's
us
trying to
over.
smooth us over.
I wouldn't know his customer nowhere. I ain't even gonna try to sell him nothing now. My whole point is so as black people, let's say we're gonna protest this Rouse, and a black person going in Rouse. You couldn't do that now. I don't know how you could do that now. But we need to do that. We need to make our point sometime. Say for 6 months and a black person going in Walmart. Not to put Walmart out of business, but any business in this country that don't get no black business ain't gonna be in business long. That's the profit. So if we don't go in there, he have to close. That's the profit.